I'm a little obsessed with vices, it would seem. Um, I have a little collection going here. This is the first vice that I bought. Actually, that's not true. I think this is the first vice that I bought, and this is a 3-inch screwless vice. I got it for a what I would say is a pretty good price, but you get what you pay for. So there's a problem. This relief here wasn't done correctly, and therefore when it was ground, it wasn't ground correctly. So when they seated this together and they ground these two surfaces, they clamped this together, I believe, for the most part. And if this is hitting, it's really hard to do this without a wrench. I kind of hate it. All right. Anyway, this corner here was hitting there, and so when they ground the thing, the whole thing is out of square. I mean, it's good enough for what I was doing at the time, which was really just learning a whole bunch of stuff. But there's a number of reasons why I don't like this. The first one is the fact that it's not actually very accurate. The second one is the mechanism. While it has a spring in here to kind of to seat it back down in there, you're never really sure, and you kind of have to look. Once it's mounted to the surface, you have to try to look through these holes here and see if your pin's engaged, and it doesn't really work all that well. The second one that I bought was this one, another cheap. I didn't know really anything about vices, so I didn't know what I was doing, or what a good amount, or what to look for, or any of that stuff. So I got this one, and there's nothing good about this vice. I mean, these screws for the jaw faces were completely, they're all screwed up. I mean, it looked like somebody had to go in there sideways to try to get the screws to bite. Every single surface on it had terrible burrs. It's not square. There's really nothing good about this vise at all. And I don't even know that I can fix any of the defects. I cleaned it up as much as I can, but I never even use this thing because while the screw works good, I think that's it. So anyway, I'm not a big fan of this vise. Plus it sits up super high. I don't know if you can see how high it sits up compared to this one. But there's 10, 12 millimeters there, and on a CNC machine you want every little bit of Z height that you can get. So anyway, this one is junk. This it's probably somewhat usable. I actually got 2 of these. I think these are shop project vices. So when somebody was taking a shop class, part of the class would be to go ahead and make one of these. And this guy's R Pop, and this one is WJ Shamel, and this one actually has a date from 1953. These are also quick sizing vices. The way that these work is these grooves in the side. This catches in those grooves, and you can slide. You can slide this in and out, and then when you find a place that you like, you can screw it in. Now, this one had a 2 relieved sides for kind of like built-in parallels, which I really do like for the drill press. I had to make a new left-handed screw here. This one came without the screw. Everything else it came with. I prefer this one over this one. It gets okay clamping pressure, but the machining is not great on it, and I don't even think I can put this other screw in or it binds up. So it's good for the drill press. It's good for I've found it good for doing things like holding PCBs and things like that. So this one's the best of the 2. I think I got both of these for $50, so it's It's not a terrible deal. This one only has the shelf on one side, and there's a faceplate here, and you can see it's got some vise in it so that you can hold some round stock if you wanted to. But the screw on this one, it doesn't work very well. It doesn't seem to really generate a whole lot of pressure. So using this in a CNC machine, I wouldn't really want to trust it. And the fact that this only has this one surface, if you try to drill on this and you put something in here to in the drill press, it's just going to slip right out of the vise right away. Work holding on CNC is hard. Maybe that's part of the reason that I have this weird little vise obsession. This is a 2-inch screwless vise, and it's got the side slot, so it's easy to clamp down to a work table or a bed of a mill or whatever. But the mechanism on this, I mean, you can see I haven't even done anything to it. Is it crooked? And it's always crooked. It doesn't seem to matter what you do. The thing is going to be crooked. And I can try to get it to a point where I can move it even while I'm looking at it. But if you go just a little bit too far, two things will happen. The first thing is this this starts to push into the bottom surface and it gets bound up. And the second thing is this will just pop out and unthread. So you almost need to have this thing off of, not trammed down or anything, for you to be able to get. I mean, literally, I tried to put it in with my finger just now and I had it in there crooked. It just doesn't seat right. I hate this thing. It's awful. And every time I try to use it, I want to throw it in the trash. So I've seen there's a mod where you can 3D print something to go in there. I don't know if that's any good. I hate this vise. So I hate this vise. I hate this vise. This one's annoying. These two, I don't have any confidence in. And the vise that I have currently on the mill is a great vise, but there's one problem, and we'll go over there and look at that in a second. This is my main vise, and I got an amazing deal on this. This was like $100. I don't even know what they were thinking. I got it shipped. I think I got it shipped for $100. And this is 100 millimeters. Huh, I actually thought it was a 5-inch. This is a 4-inch, and it's 255 millimeters long. So 4 by whatever 250 is in inches. The mechanism's the same as the other screwless vices. I have a magnet on there because sometimes it gets in a position where it doesn't like to come out. The problem with the magnet is it picks up all these chips. So this is a big piece of steel. This is what's providing all the holding torque on between the vise and the back jaw and the front jaw. It's easy to get in there. If I want to change positions, I don't really have to necessarily look at it. Normally I can get it in there. That time didn't work. but normally I can get it in there without too much fuss. Of course, it's Murphy's Law. There we go. The travel, it's probably got, I've never actually tested it. It's kind of pushing the limit a little bit there. Let me get the scale and see how far it's actually going to travel. Good to think about that for a second. It's about 25 millimeters. I'm going to guess about an inch. Yeah. About 26, 27 millimeters. Anyways, this is great. And when you put something in here and you torque down on it, it's not going anywhere. This thing has an amazing amount of holding torque. You can put this giant wrench in here and really crank the hell out of it. And it's flat. The surfaces are parallel. For the most part, I really like this vise a lot. This 4-inch screwless vise. It's got the little slotted out sides so that I can really securely have it clamped down to the bed. There's the only one problem that I have is in some circumstances, like for instance this one, maybe not this one, but you can get into a circumstance where you've got your workpiece in there and you go to crank down on it, and maybe you move it, maybe you change something, maybe you're not paying attention because something just went wrong, and you got to change the orientation, maybe the thickness isn't the same this way, and you can go and crank the thing and it seems tight. You're feeling it, it seems tight. If you tap on the work, it doesn't necessarily move. But what's really happened is sometimes, and this amazingly, this happens a lot more than you would think it would happen, but it happens pretty regularly for me, or at least when it happens, it's really scary. It might lead to me getting hurt or breaking a tool. I mean, there's a whole bunch of problems that it can create if your vise isn't doing what you think it's doing. But you got the thing cranked down there, it's bottomed out, and then your workpiece is in there floating around, which is dangerous. You can ruin the work. There's all kinds of problems that you can have with that. So that's the one thing that I don't like about this beast of a vise. Everything else about it I think is extremely awesome, and I think one of these new, not necessarily one, this might be made in America, I don't know, but one of these new that's this quality, I think it's probably worth $250, $300. And maybe when this was made, it might have even been $400 or $500. And the reason for that is that it does take a lot of time and effort to get all these surfaces ground and flat, and you got to do the heat treating and all of that stuff. So anyway, I like this vise, but it has that one feature where, well, actually there is another problem, but the main problem is I don't really know when it's bottomed out. The flip side of that problem is I can have this thing screwed out, but there might only be 2 threads, connecting it back down in there. And then I'm again in a dangerous situation where the vise, I think it might be holding, but the one thread could give. I don't have anywhere near the normal holding power, and I just don't know. I don't really have any way to reference the depth that this is in here, unless there was some way to figure out the angle. But there's no indication of it. And again, it seems to me that this, for me, all my problems happen on this thing when something else went wrong. I'm really focused on some other aspect of the work, and I think I'm not triple checking that the vise is doing what I think it's doing. When I ordered this thing, I really thought the other one was 5 inches. I don't know why. It's really only 4. Just put them directly side by side so you can see how much bigger it is. 4-inch, actually. Poor baby, you can't even see it in there. Okay, 2-inch screwless vise, 3-inch screwless vise, 4-inch screwless vise. This is probably the right size for this mill. 5-inch modular vise. It's a screwless vise, but it's this different design. So this is literally, like, actually that might even be a better comparison. This thing here is 3 inches on the back jaw. This is about 1.75, 1 3/4 inches. That's about 1.5, a little less. And this little guy is only about 1 inch and 1/8. These are just rough measurements. But I do actually think the more telling measurement is the size of the wrench. Because this thing's supposed to make 5,000 to 8,000 pounds of pressure. That's a couple cars. This is a big wrench. Not so much a big wrench. And again, you know, all your pressure is generated by this screw. Baby wrench. I mean, this is an M6 screw in here. M8. I think this is 12 millimeter, and that sucker there, I mean, that looks like, that might be 18 millimeters. And it's not a regular screw thread. So, there's your comparison between the different vise sizes. Again, I thought this was a 5-inch, so I ordered another 5-inch because I thought it was the right general size. I just wanted this feature so that I didn't know when I was going to bottom out. Now, because this back jaw is 3 inches, you know, I can hang it off to about here where my DRO sits, but I'm still losing a couple inches of my Y travel. And I don't know the logic behind when you want to do this or when you don't want to do this, but you know, I can see circumstances where I'd want to mount it like this. Now that I look at it, I don't think I can mount it like that because the T-slots don't line up. So there's no, I might be able to put a clamp on there. And I can clamp here too. So if I wanted to rely on two fasteners at each end to secure the vise, I could put it in this orientation here. I think I'm gonna just stick with this orientation. I mean, it's pretty rare that I need all my Y anyway, but this is too big for this mill, to be perfectly honest.